To kick off this spring season, I talk and paint with a really interesting woman. She is a talented painter. She's sympathetic, she's energetic, she's copacetic, and she shares with us some really vulnerable moments, like how she couldn't look at her own mistakes. And I'm not talking about mistakes in her art, I'm talking about mistakes in her life as well. She talks about how art taught her self-love, we'll get into that, and how abstract painting completely blew up her life after a 27-year career as a successful creative director at Nordstrom. But first, the reason I took so much time off is my husband and we went to Desert Hot Springs and Palm Springs, and it's really beautiful there this time of year. I guess they got some good rain. And we went to Joshua Tree twice. You can just walk and walk and walk. Nobody's gonna stop you. You can just go anywhere. There were really strange alien rock formations and beautiful spring cactus blooms. It was kind of like being on an alien planet. I did bring some art supplies with me. This is my pretty much go-to travel art bag. It's nice because it's canvas and it's a zip bag and it's really big, so I can fit lots of stuff in here. I was just looking around online and I found these boxes that you keep beads in, and then I just put my paint colors in here like that. I actually layered a sheet of saran wrap over this, and then I shut it, and then I wrapped it in saran wrap again, and then I put it in Ziploc bag. This one had just other colors in it, and the little clip broke off, so I just had to kind of fake it with a rubber band. But someone on Instagram saw my post about that, and she said there's these little cases on you can get on Amazon, and they're designed specifically for this. They have a little silicone top there that uses suction to keep the paint wet. The only problem is the little sections are really small, so you can't hold that much paint in there, and then you just clip it shut like that. Actually, I was putting away my travel stuff in my luggage, and I was like, oh, look at what we have here. This is one of those pill cases, those travel pill cases. And this one is great because these pop open and they're really secure, and they also are really deep, so they hold a lot of paint. I can just keep filling these, and I'm really liking this solution. Another interesting travel suggestion, it's like a documents case. It's plastic. I don't know how airtight this is. It's probably not that airtight, but it's kind of good in a pinch. I took this sponge stuff that you can order especially for palettes, cut it in half so it fits on this tray like that. So I just get them nice and wet, and then I cut out a piece of freezer paper and I lay the freezer paper on here, and when it's wet it sticks to that. Hot pink paint. That's the theme of today's episode as well, you'll see. So and you can just mix your colors on here. And then when you want to take a break, instead of your paints drying out in the air, you can shut them like this. And I imagine you can probably tape this if you're traveling. I got one of these big ones too because I thought these would be nice. These supplies are listed in the description below if you're interested. I didn't paint a lot because it was really windy there. The desert wind was just like really intense. And this one's nice because it just fits right in my kit like that. And I also bring, pencils and crayons and whatnot. And then I also brought this large mixed media one because I wanted to paint a little bit bigger, and it just lies flat in my luggage. I'll show you the small things first. This one, getting that pool vibe. I'm definitely a water person and I like swimming, so being in the desert really is no fun for me unless there's a pool. And then for the big sketchbook, I did a few in there as well. I've really been trying to work fast and loose This one is definitely, I'm getting a pool vibe on this one. More swimming pool. So without further ado, I'm excited for you to meet Linda Wallace. We're pretty comfortable around each other. You'll see why. I took Linda to my local art store where we picked up some supplies. We're gonna decorate sketchbook covers and we're gonna paint while we talk. Oh my God, and I sense that a lot of you are really in just the right place to hear some of this stuff. So grab a tea or a sparkly beverage and spend the next 25 minutes with us. I got Linda this calligraphy brush, or sumi-e brush, because I love them and I'm trying to get her to...
Trying to get me too.
I'm trying to... Linda was actually the one who showed me this fluorescent pink paint, so we got another tube of that because yesterday when we were painting, she used like all of it. And I decided to try some dioxazine purple because I don't usually use purple. I usually make my own purple. And then of course some more fixative. And I was gonna get Yes Paste, but the guy at the art store said we should try this Japanese stuff that was a little bit cheaper. Do you want to talk about that sketchbook that you picked out and why?
I love a square format. And I thought this would be great to paint on because it's not too slick. It's got a little tooth in it. It's going to grab some glue. It'll grab some paint. It's just the size is great for like sitting down and banging out, you know, something quick and easy. Like I have a studio, but I think it would be great to be like sit at my dining room table.
At your kitchen counter?
In my kitchen, I don't have the gracious kitchen counter you do.
I brought out all the art supplies. So we've got some acrylic paints that we picked out, and we have these temper paint sticks. I'm just gonna paint right on.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens.
I think that's always a good philosophy.
Let's see what happens.
It's like, what are you gonna do? I don't know. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. So this fluorescent pink, Linda, how did you discover it? And why do you like it so much?
I've experimented with like covering a whole painting with it, starting a whole board with it.
Yeah.
And it literally hurts my eyes. I don't like it straight. It's how much it just zings up red. It adds a life to red. It adds this energy to reds. It adds energy to oranges. Lately, in the last couple of years, it's like a really happy colors. You know, just like reds and pinks and oranges that are just bright and lively. And I just love that. Just a little bit of that just takes red and orange to a place that it can't go without it.
Okay. Here's a big calligraphy brush.
Ooh, yeah.
It's just, it's very flowy.
You know, you're really turning me on to these things.
Yeah,
because I have big brushes, but I tend to go with the flat ones.
I think I'm done.
Some of Blake's hot pink. I've been stealing
my thunder.
Pink.
This is bookbinding cloth. It's tape,
great idea.
but I'm going to use it to fix the
binding.
What do you call this?
Binding. Spine.
The spine. I'm going to use it to fix the spine, and then I can just paint over it because it's kind of ugly. But
where'd our paint go?
What paint?
The tubes of paint.
Oh, what do you need?
I need more hot pink.
So here's with the bookbinding tape. That'll keep the spine stable. If you're wondering why I'm painting on an old book, check out one of my episodes where I talk about it. Apparently it's very controversial. So
that's you.
Yeah.
This kind of work when I collage, it just goes back to my graphic design background. It's so different than a pure abstract, which I try not to plan. I was a little kid and I always drew like girls in clothes. And my mother was a beautiful sewer. We'd go to the fabric store and I would look at the pattern books and I'd look at the drawings and they'd give me the pattern books that expired and I just drew. I drew fashion. I always wanted to grow up to be a fashion illustrator, and then I did. I became a fashion illustrator. And so I did graphic design, I did fashion illustration. It really started with what I really loved to do as a kid, which was, drawing beautiful girls in clothes. And then I'm so lucky that I got to do that. I got to do that for a living. A lot of years there as a corporate artist at Nordstrom, and a little bit of freelance around other companies, but mostly Nordstrom. So I've just kind of become a jack of all trades in my art, because I got, as a corporate artist, you're like, can you design this? Can you draw this? Can you shoot this? And so much fun, really, really fun.
What are some of the things about corporate, though, that did any of it suck the kind of artist energy out of you?
No. There were years when I just drew all day long. And this is back in the 80s or 90s, and I had my Sony Walkman,
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about.
And then, the styles change and how you represent fashion, and it became photography. And again, it was fashion, so it was like something I kind of knew, and, make fashion look good.
I like this too. It looks kind of Japanese or something.
I like to just not hold on to the brush. Just kind of
have
it dance.
She didn't completely mix the paint there. A lot of teachers are like, make sure you mix your colors.
I think when it comes to rules and abstract, you need to smash them. I don't know if I'm doing the right thing.
There's no right thing.
That's right. That's right.
That's wrong. So are you making a lot of art these days?
It's not always consistent. Life happens.
Yeah.
And I was on a roll for a few years, and then I bought a new home and moved my studio into my new home.
You had a big studio before.
I had a big studio.
She used to live in a big downtown loft and huge
so cool
platform where you can paint.
400 square feet. But I also find that those breaks, is kind of frustrating as they can be. I can be kind of incubating some new thoughts and new ideas. I'd come back and I go, I've kind of learned something. And you never turn your artist brain off. I got to really kind of think about, how do I want to feel when I get back into painting? Because up to that point, I was thinking, gosh, a lot of times when I paint, I'm frustrated with myself. I judge myself really harshly. I walk away feeling like, I didn't do very good. How do I want to feel when I paint? What do I want my painting experience to feel like?
You go into this spiral, this hole, and you feel so bad about yourself.
I decided that my goal for my first piece that I wanted to create, have it feel fun. I didn't care what it looked like. I just didn't care. Part of it was being a corporate artist. This better be good. This better prove that I know what I'm doing. And I want to, it's like my art. I felt like my art needed to make me feel good. I went into that studio and I got craft paper, like 4x6 piece. I rolled it across the wall and I said, I just am so happy to be here. I'm so happy to be back in the studio. I do not care what this looks like. And I literally just put music on and I literally just danced across this paper. I moved really fast and just flowed. Stayed focused on how do I want to feel. And 3 hours later, I stepped back and I went, art that resonates with me the most, that I love the most, and also resonates with other people. I did feeling how I was feeling and prioritizing wanting to have the experience I was feeling or painting the experience I was feeling, and not trying to do good art.
That's hard.
It is hard. You have to have faith. You have to have faith that what you do will be the right thing, and you don't know what the right thing is.
How do you get faith, though?
You let go. You let go. You let go of having to know.
I'm kind of liking this, and I think I've been actually reacting a lot off of value from my composition. So
that's the most important thing.
If I see too much medium value, I'll push white, and it doesn't matter what the shape looks like. If I just put a little bit of white in there, then it helps the composition immediately.
Value is the composition.
So Linda and I met in 2010. We hit it off right away. We're birthday sisters. We have the same birthday. I remember asking Linda at some point, I said, if you find an abstract painting class, I'll find a dance class. So I found the dance class. We did this dance class. And then Linda said, I found an abstract painting workshop. And I was like, well, what is it? She goes, it's in Haramara, it's in Mexico, and it's with a guy named Nicholas Wilton. I was like, okay, I don't know who this Nicholas Wilton person is, but sounds fun, let's do it. That was really the beginning of my, maybe yours too, my abstract painting journey. I remember painting a lot of mess. I'll see if I can go find some of the stuff. I didn't have a really good grasp on what I was doing.
I mean, here I was, artist since I was this big. A lot of what I'd done all my life was representational. Being a creative director is like the least creative job. So I like the way Nick talked about it, is like connecting with, it's with your soul and all that. It's like, that sounds great, sign me up. So my experience was like, I go in going, I know how to do art, but this was different. Is this good? Is this okay? Is this what I should be doing? Because I was so used to being kind of directed. Having my work fit into like, here's the template for this, and here's the goal for this, and here's the format. Left on my own to just flow and do what I loved, I had lost connection with that. So I was miserable, and it felt terrible. I look over at you, and you're just going, and you're so fluid, and I go, like, you're just like banging them out. How are you doing that? And you're like, I just remember you were like, because I don't give a and that has stuck with me, because I'm like, there's genius in that. Just so struggling and so like torturing myself, because I was like, I hate that. That's ugly. That sucks. My art looks like a Bed Bath & Beyond shower curtain. I just can't do this. He said, where you are right now is exactly where you need to be. Mm-hmm. And I think I know what he means. You need to be frustrated with the way you're doing it. You need to hate the way how it feels, because that's the thing that's going to kick you into going, I'm going to do this differently. We oscillate between like trying to get to the next level of flow, and then you're ready to grow again, and then it's like, oh, the growing pains. And I was like, I need a studio in this house. Said that to my husband, and I was like, I need a studio in this house. And I kept painting, even though it was like I really had a hard time there, but I know there's something here.
I didn't have a studio or any space really to paint. I just kind of pushed through. I pushed through, and I literally made 5 years of bad art. Why did I keep doing it? I think because I know that when you push through something enough, you're going to come out on the other side. And tortured artist. That's why I say that. But yeah. But now I feel like I'm in a flow, and I can do no wrong. I really, because my expectations are so low.
This is the way that abstract painting actually blew my life up. It really did. It was a place in my life where I realized there was a lot of energy going out in terms of like making sure people liked what I did here, making sure I was pleasing this person, that person, this person, and I was really disconnected from what I loved and what made me happy. And my art showed me that. When I started hearing these like negative voices and these like critical, I realized that I don't just do this in the studio. I do this in my whole life. There's an aspect of my art making that is performing. Look how good I am. I can do this. It's beautiful, and don't look at my mistakes. And I couldn't even look at my mistakes. I'd be painting, and in my mind, parading through my mind, were people who like really negative dialogue coming up in my mind, were people who'd hurt me in the past, people who'd said mean things to me in the past. What is this parade of voices and going through my head? And then I realized it's like I said, this is not just happening in my studio. Art was a mirror connecting with my favorite part of myself. Since I was a tiny little girl, like I was just an artist. And this is my favorite, most beloved thing about me. And look how I'm treating this part of myself. Look how I'm talking to this part of myself. This is not an art problem. This is more of a problem with my relationship with myself. And art was just showing it to me. This nasty, mean critic that you hear in your studio, notice if you hear it in other places. Yeah. All that matters is, what do you love and what do you feel and what do you want to feel? That demands you get intimate with yourself. And if you've been avoiding those questions, then you're gonna have a hard time. And I did. I was like, there's a lot of myself I am not in connection with. Mine's still just like cacophony, because you can always edit later. A design started timidly, rarely gains vigor later on. And that's the whole gift of abstract. When in life do you ever get to just go, I'm gonna be a big old mess, I'm gonna make a big old mess, and there's not gonna be any like repercussions, I'm not gonna get in trouble. As you do more and more abstract painting, it's like, what do I really want to express? If it didn't matter.
I don't think for a lot of people it is risk-free when you're
It feels like a risk, but it's not. That's the thing, it's really not. Your body's telling you there's a risk here, and that feels like a risk to our ego. Where's the risk in it? Yeah.
How do you get yourself to believe that? Just practice?
That's the work. That's the work right there.
That's the work.
That's the relationship with self part. When that part of you inside of you is telling you that terrible things are going to happen, there's going to be some negative repercussions to having a bad day in the studio.
Yeah.
You have to talk to that part of you. We all have that side of ourselves that isn't nice to us, that we just hate that part of ourselves. Mm-hmm. But here's what doesn't work. It doesn't work to try to shut it up. That is your ego trying to keep you safe. By like, no, I want you to do a good job, and I don't want you to go into the world looking like you don't know what you're doing and showing people bad art and showing your failures. So I'm here to like be hard on you and beat on you so that you will be safe in the world. This is what ego tries to do. It's just an old story. I didn't do good enough. I wasn't good enough. I didn't do this very well. And so that part of your body is like, oh, you don't want to have that shame. You don't want to have that. It's the little like, your teacher or your parents are really like, that's not very good. And when you're really little, that's big thing. That's like, oh no, I'm not very good, because those big people in your life are everything to you. We store that memory in our body. We store the memory of how do I stay safe and how do I stay loved and how do I stay connected and cared for by the people in my life. And so these are the parts of us that never really go away. So when you're doing art and abstract painting, abstract wants you. Wants to know you, wants to feel you, needs to know you and feel you in order to dance with you.
I know they talk about, oh, she's a control freak or he's a control freak or I'm a perfectionist, but I think, don't you think that maybe everybody has kind of a perfectionist
Probably.
side?
A mechanism that they've adopted to help keep them safe. And what that can result in, and it's hard for artists, is like not fully expressing. I remember, earlier on, and it still happens to me when I'm painting, and I'm like, this doesn't feel good. I'm worried that I'm gonna make something ugly, and I'm gonna be wasting my time, and no one's gonna like it. It's when you start getting hip to that voice in yourself. You go, wow, listen to this. This reminds me of how I am at work. This is how I am at other areas of my life. And it's like, wow, this is a relationship I have with myself. And we all have that self-critical voice, and we all judge ourselves harshly because that's being alive. That's being human beings.
Totally.
And so when you're having a bad experience with your art and this is going on, that is incredibly great information.
It hurts.
It does. It's painful. And the object, what I really learned, is to not then get mad at myself, that part of myself, and shame that part of myself.
Yes.
Shame comes from a negative thing that happened when we were trying to get our basic needs met. For connection, for intimacy, for love, and we somehow got shot down for it. And when we're really little, we're really sensitive. You start creating your reality, like you create your art, to help create that experience. And then you do it with other people. It's like, oh, we just hit a snag here. How would I rather feel right now? I'd rather feel connected to you. And it's coming from like a non-defensive place and not even a needy place. It's like, what's the experience you'd rather have? And you dance with your art in that way, and you dance with yourself that way in your life, and you dance with your partner that way, and that's creative. And in a way, Nick was teaching the same way. That's why he calls it art to life, is you have the same sort of like dance with your art as you do with your life.
You're taking clients, and when you have a client, how does that work? I mean, obviously you don't have to get into like the privacy issue, but
Yeah.
like, I'm curious how you help someone. And do you use art? Are you doing art therapy?
I have clients who want to express themselves more in their art and they don't know how. If it's somebody who wants to get into art, and I help them find ways to hack the fear, to begin to learn to do it from the body, from like how you feel. And sometimes it's like put a big sheet up and dance on that thing and get out of your mind and get out of your rigid body, and don't be rigid in your body and be more flowy. So, and always what happens with artists is that it does get into, oh, I'm like this in other areas of my life. And oh yeah, I do this. So art to life. Mm-hmm. And then also I work with clients who really just want to have a better relationship with themselves so that they can have a better relationship with their partners. Mm-hmm. And then, or that's like, I need a better relationship with my partner. And it's like, that always goes back to your relationship with yourself. You're going to have a completely different lens on your relationship with your art and other people, because you start to honor your needs. You start to honor how you feel. You start to honor how you'd like to feel. Mm-hmm. And then you're going to advocate for yourself, not only in your artwork, but with your relationship with yourself and with other people. You know what? Sometimes when I feel like it needs something and I don't know what, and I'm trying to think of the right thing, a good hack is like, no, do the wrong thing.
Do the opposite.
Do the wrong thing. And that's like, ooh, that was unexpected, and you're off to a whole new thing. So I think orange.
Yeah,
I agree with you.
I would do orange, mm-hmm. and I'm actually going to do that on mine too. Here, I think this is kind of boring.
Mm. Yeah, it's kind of all down here.
Let's do something shocking.
It's your little subversive side. Seriously, I love that about you. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's it. You just like put some energy in it. Like I was going slow and I'm like, that means I need to go.
Just a sketchbook.
I'm going to fork it.
Fork it. Just fork it. You have heard of a feminine palette and touch? It's very different from mine because you covered up a lot of stuff.
I covered up a lot of stuff.
You started out with a lot of layers.
Oh yeah, it was very busy and there was a lot going on. The wonderful thing about abstract is it gives you an opportunity to explore without having to know where you're going. And that's kind of a cliff dive. I start off a piece purposely not being in control and just throwing down a lot of stuff that I just really love without any sort of concern about where is this going? What does this have, how is this going to be finished? How is this going to look? And making this sort of just cacophony, sometimes it's a cacophony of just stuff. And then discerning later. It's like, I have all this stuff to work with. It is like, I love this and I love this and this felt good to make at the time. I really believe in just throwing, your full expression at something and not holding back. Don't worry about what it's going to look like. Give yourself a lot to work with by just doing a lot. And it'll look a little bit like, let it. That's okay, because the more you do, the more you're going to have to work with when you get to a place where you start to discern and start to choose, what do I love and what would actually go well with that, and what do I really want to highlight and what can I get rid of. When I work with people in their lives and their relationships, it's the same principle. It's the foundation of starting with, what do you love? What do you want? What brings you joy? We're not going to critique that. We're not going to ask it, well, how are you going to do that? We're not gonna demand that that your joy, your desire, what you love, provide some sort of proof of concept. We're not doing that at that point. We spend a lot of time getting in touch with that really essential part of ourselves. And then later comes the discernment of like, oh, I really like this. Now, how can I create this? Mm-hmm.
We're going to finish off with a little bit of liquid acrylic medium.
And it'll also give a nice kind of overall finish. I like to use these foam sponges. I like to spread it around
It looks good with the
with
glaze on there.
Yeah, I like to spread this medium around with foam.
There's matte medium too, which isn't as shiny as this. If you don't want shiny,
I like a little bit
shine.
You know why? Because sometimes on my work it can give this just the slightest impression of an encaustic, where it's just a little satiny. It's like a little satin finish. I like that.